back and welcome to my November TBR. I'm not going to talk about a lot of the audiobooks that I'm going to read this month because I mentioned a couple of them in my November, non-fiction November participation announcement. So if you haven't watched that one, I'll leave it linked up here so that you can go away and watch that one. I'm going to talk about a couple of the non-fiction books that I'm going to be reading in physical book form, but I'm going to begin with the ones that I've rolled over from my October TBR because there are 3 books that were on there that I didn't get to in October, so those are going to be high priority in November. So let's talk about those 3 first of all. First of all, I have Secrets of Moldara, which is by Brian Earhart, which I've talked about a couple of times. It has been in my previous TBRs, so hopefully definitely going to get to that this month. Then I have one that I kind of deliberately bumped from my October TBR just because I knew I was then going to be taking part in non-fiction November, and that is Rage Becomes Her by Soraya Chemaly, I hope, which I'm very excited about reading, and I didn't want to rush reading it in October, and so I moved it to be part of my November TBR, and I will leave links to these books down below so you can click on the links and find out a little bit more about them. And then I also have one which again I kind of didn't want to rush in October, so I've moved it to November, and that is Girls Can't Hit by T.S. Easton, which I believe it's been on my September and my October TBR. I'm very sorry I haven't got to this one, but it's partly because I know that once I start this one, I won't want to put it down, and I spent October in the middle of a lot of books at once, and I knew I wanted to give this one full attention. And that leads me nicely onto the library books that I have to read in November, because I had a very exciting stack of library books which came up that I'd had on hold. So they came onto my hold shelf and I knew they were going to be part of my November TBR. The first one is Pride by Ibi Zoboi, which anybody I know who has read this one, it's a young adult Pride and Prejudice remix. Anyone I know who has read this has said it is amazing, so I'm looking forward to getting to this one. And I really, really like the cover. It's hard because it's got the library cover on as well, but I love the fact that it's got this like textured cover to it, and it really is textured. You can actually feel it. So again, another young adult fiction. Then I was lucky enough to get on hold Odd One Out by Nic Stone. You may remember I very recently read Dear Martin by Nic Stone, so I'm looking forward to picking this one up. I know a few people have had proof copies of this one and said that it's amazing, so hopefully I'm going to love it too. And then this one was kind of loosely on my October TBR. I was excited to read it as soon as it came out, but it just kind of kept getting bumped down. Again, I wanted to sit down and read it because I knew once I pick it up I won't want to stop, and that is Someday by David Levithan, which is the sequel to the New York Times best-selling Everyday, which, as you know, was made into a movie. So I have both a trailer reaction and a book versus movie of Everyday, which I will leave linked up here and down there because I've got both of them, so you know I'm excited. The only thing that's kind of slightly stopped me picking this one up straight away is I did Everyday and Another Day in audiobook form, and you know, once I start with a series in audiobook I do struggle a little bit to then switch to the physical book, so I'm kind of waiting and hedging my bets to see if my audiobook hold of this one comes or not. So we'll see what format I read this in, but I'm definitely going to read it this month. And then those aforementioned couple of books from my non-fiction November TBR, I suppose. The first one is Feminists Don't Wear Pink and Other Lies, Amazing Women on What the F Word Means to Them. I've already started it. I'm a third of the way through it and it's really good so far. And it's also just a beautiful, jolly, wonderful book. And it's pink. Then I have one which is very short and meets the challenge of micro from the non-fiction November reading challenges, and that is Happier Thinking by Lana Grace Reaver. This is just a short essay, and I'm looking forward to picking this one up kind of when I need it, I think. And then one that I definitely know I'm going to be doing a buddy read of, and this was in my October book haul, so if you haven't seen that, I will link that up here as well, and that is Dear Evan Hansen, the novel. I know a lot of people who have seen the show and have absolutely raved about it, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. Again, it's YA fiction. I seem to have quite a lot of YA fiction or non-fiction this month. The one exception to that being the ebook, which I haven't talked about, which I am already in the process of reading. I did dive into it very slightly. I read about 5% of it in October, and then other things came along and got in the way, so I've gone back and started it. Since I'm filming this a couple of days into November, I have gone back and restarted this 20% of the way in, and that is Every Colour of You, which is adult fiction. I think it's the only adult fiction on my TBR this month as it stands. As I say, November, non-fiction November, if I can get it the right way around, plays a big part. And then I have a small selection of graphic novels. As you know, I am trying to read some more graphic novels. I read Paper Girls Volume 1 in October, and so I have Paper Girls Volumes 2, 3 and 4, which are on my November TBR, so hopefully I will get to them. My library had them all, so I was able to go and pick them up all at once. And I believe Volume 5 is coming out in December, so it seems like a good time to read these if I get into the series. We'll wait and see whether I get into it or not. And then on the recommendation of Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany, I also picked up from my library Giant Days, which again I've heard a lot of people talk about, and a lot of people talk about favourably, and she recommended it for me, and she knows my reading taste, so hopefully going to like this one as well. So as I say, links to all those books will be in the description box below so that you can get some more information on them. If you haven't already watched my October wrap up, you'll have seen why some of these books got missed, because I read other books in October instead. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you are most excited about reading in November, or if you have any of these books on your TBR as well. I'm always happy to hear recommendations or anything you would like me to make a video about once I have finished reading. Always happy to do that as well. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you are subscribed so that my next video lands in your subscription feed. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Leave me a comment, and I will see you with my next video. Bye.